In a forgotten village on the outskirts of Murshidabad, nestled between fields of mustard and mango orchards, there lay an old cemetery, abandoned, overgrown, and wrapped in an eerie silence that made even the bravest hesitate. The villagers called it Shibpa Smashan. But to the few who dared speak of it after dark, it was known by another name, Fakir Math, the grave of the mystic saint. They say over 100 years ago, a wandering Fakir came to the village. He was not a beggar nor a mendicant like others. His eyes held the stillness of death, and his voice echoed as if it had travelled from another realm. No one knew his name, only that he wore a threadbare saffron robe, carried a trident smeared with ash, and never asked for food. He simply walked into the cemetery one night and lay down beside an unmarked grave. From that night on, he never left. He meditated there, unmoving, whispering chants no one understood. The villagers grew fearful but respectful. They began to leave offerings at the gates, milk, flowers, even gold coins. In return, the Fakir seemed to bless the village. Crops flourished. Diseases disappeared. The village thrived for years. But then, one stormy monsoon night, the Fakir died, sitting upright, his eyes open, fixed on the dark skies. The villagers buried him where he died and built a small shrine. But as years passed, they forgot his name, his power, and the legend faded into myth. His shrine crumbled, the cemetery grew wild, and Shibpa was abandoned after a series of mysterious deaths, people found strangled, their eyes burned out, mouths frozen mid-scream. Present day. Arif, a freelance journalist from Kolkata, intrigued by folk legends and ghost stories, arrived in Shibpa on assignment for a podcast series on India's haunted sites. The village was barely on the map, just a dirt road leading to a handful of houses and the looming banyan trees of the old cemetery. The few remaining villagers warned him. Fakir Baba Jagcha Rat E Shi Jake Che, Tar Mutgumi O Daka Thake Na. The Fakir awakens at night. The ones he desires can't even hide in their sleep. Dismissive of superstition, Arif began recording stories from the locals, piecing together a narrative that fascinated and disturbed him. He was particularly drawn to the tale of Reena, a girl who vanished after sleeping near the cemetery. Her mother had found her sandals at the gate, her footprints leading in, but never out. Driven by morbid curiosity, Arif decided to spend the night near the Fakir's grave. He carried cameras, voice recorders, infrared scanners, everything to capture proof. At twilight, he entered the cemetery. The air was heavier than before, thick with the scent of ash and decay. Vines wrapped around shattered headstones, and owls shrieked warnings he ignored. He found the shrine, almost consumed by roots and moss. Strange symbols were etched in the stone, barely visible in the dying light. Arif set up his gear, sat by the shrine. Midnight came. The air stilled. Then came the whisper, low, breathy, in a language Arif didn't recognize. His recorder picked it up even though he heard nothing with his ears. The ground trembled softly. A gust of wind blew through the graves, though the trees didn't sway. And then he saw it, bare feet walking over the gravestones. The Fakir. Clad in tattered saffron, his skin pale as smoke, his eyes burning like embers, he glided more than walked. Arif's camera shutter clicked, only to malfunction. His torchlight flickered and died. Arif stood frozen, the Fakir's gaze locked on him. "You disturbed my rest," the Fakir whispered. "You seek truth in a place where truth is punishment." Suddenly, Arif found himself unable to move, his limbs numb, his breath shallow. Around him, the graves began to stir, hands clawing from the soil, faces half-eaten by time, moaning in a chorus of agony. The Fakir chanted, and the corpses began to crawl toward Arif. He tried to scream but couldn't. At dawn, the villagers found Arif lying at the gate of the cemetery. Alive, but changed. His hair had turned white. His eyes never blinked. He did not speak. He was taken to Kolkata, to a psychiatric hospital. But every night, without fail, he whispered the same chant the Fakir had whispered. Aham smashing vicharami, I dwell in the cremation ground. Weeks later, the hospital nurse went missing. Then a doctor. An Arif? He vanished from his bed one night. All they found was a faint ash mark on the wall beside his pillow. Back in Shibpa, a new whisper spread of a white-haired man seen walking into the cemetery at dusk, murmuring ancient chants, his eyes glowing like the dead. The Fakir had returned. But this time, in a new body. And the cemetery waits for the next one foolish enough to disturb his eternal vigil.